Yeah, just not that long ago, we were all doing Gangnam style. Okay, some of you were 10. But what we're going to do today is web mapping in our Corona style. So we're going to give you a little tutorial here how to get data off the web to scrape a little, grab some from me, and we're going to have some fun. Not Gangnam style, R and Rstudio style. Sorry, Sai. So we're going to bounce over to RStudio, and if you check the YouTube video comments below this, there will be a link to this R script. I'm going to talk you through it here. What we do, and there's a variety of packages. If you have the script, this goes fairly easily, and you can update it or use your own data simply by changing the links to your own data. All right, so there are a variety of packages here. There's some Flex Dashboard. We're going to do a Flex Dashboard tutorial in a couple of days, so I might as well install it while we're here. It allows us to make cool dashboards. We're not going to do that today, just a map. RGDAL helps us import and export geographic data. Plotly helps us make some maps. We're not using that today. And graphs and other things, but we will. Leaflet is the major source of mapping behind this. Magritter is a package that helps us do piping and other things for moving data sets forward into functions. Data tables. Base, that's the base. Spatial is spatial. Map view is what we're going to lean on today. Oops, I put RGDAL in there twice, so you don't have to install it twice. If you want to install these and you don't have them installed, remove the hashtags and run those lines. So then the next thing we need to do is run all these libraries to make sure they're up and running. You could probably skip it. Woo, bad mouse control. So I'm just going to select them and run them, and they will tell me that a few things are masked and some of them were compiled under different. Sneeze, no, I'm fine. I just got done mowing my lawn and oh my goodness, it's hay fever out here. You might call it straw fever. First thing we're going to do is we're going to read the New York COVID data. This is not magic. It's not mine. It's from the GitHub content put out by New York City Health Department, and it pulls up the tests by CTA, which is zip code transfer area, which is what the post office uses in terms of their zip codes that matches up to census data. So that's the one that we're going to use. And then we're going to grab, so you just click on that and boom, it runs over there and grabs it. Done. If you want to know what that looks like, you can just select it, click run, and it shows you sort of what's in the data set. All right. You see there you are, positives. You got an NA in there. Da, 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 da. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the zip and lat long. You could also come over here and click on the zip COVID, NYC COVID zip. That's the 178.4, and it will give you, you can look at that again. Notice this is ncovidmapper.r. We need to bounce over that. I'm going to close that so we have fewer. Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of work on here, so props to Eddie. He's doing a lot of work right now. Trying to finish up one of those poor seniors who won't get to graduate with the funny suit and hat on. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grab that. We're good. It just overwrites it if I do it again. Now we need to merge those two things. And we're all it does is going to take the second one, which is the zip data, and then attach the lat long data, and the X is the one in zip. That's called mod ZECTA, and the zip code is called zip in the zip LL. It'd be great if people name things the same, but I don't do it, so I can't really expect other people to. Although I'd like it. Then we're going to take that file there and get rid of the NAs, the missing stuff, because it causes problems in the mapping, and that's this NAOmit command. So yeah, we're going to run that, and now if we went back and looked at the zip over here, if we looked at the zip PLL, that would be the 177 observations there. Ta-dam. And it has latitudes and longitudes attached to all of our data here, so we could possibly map it. All right. Oops, gotten the wrong one. Weird code coming up there. Another mapping for some other things. So we're actually ready to map, And it's a pretty simple thing here. Map view, right? We want to view a map. We put in there, we say we want our Y column to be latitude. We want our X column to be longitude because that's the way we view the world. And the Z col, the one we're going to shade, is called positive because that's the number of positives. And that's just the header in the CSV file. And then we're going to do our CRS equals CRS. This is a little complicated here, but largely this just tells us that this is a latitude-longitude projection, and we're going to use the egg shape of the world called WGS84, and these are the standard projections for that. All right? And so when we hit that, takes a second, and boom. And I'm going to zoom, and there we go. We got our Coolio map here, and we got our X grid and our Y grid and our positives. And you see up here, positron, we could do dark matter. Notice you get more pop of the difference between the reds and yellows. If you go to black, OpenStreetMaps. OpenStreetMaps is kind of cool because we can zoom in and it'll tell us what the neighborhoods that we're hanging out in, or at least the streets. And you might be able to see sort of features like denser areas might have more, might be in the darker red and have more cases, etc. So zooming back out, but everybody has like bigger circles, right? So that's sort of the cool thing we're going to do. So I'm going to close that, and we're going to add in there, we're going to do the CEX, which is character expansion, and we're going to put positive on that again. So it's positive and positive. We're sort of hitting this with a brick. And so we go to our map view again, and boom, there we go. So we can zoom to that again, make the viewer bigger, and you see, hey, pretty cool. So there we go. If you go over them, it gives the X and Y. If you click on them, it gives all the data, which is a nice feature of map view in that it does all that for you without you having to break a sweat. All right. So we would like, you're seeing the red, yellow, dark red here, and that's because I changed it. Since I hadn't set it, you're seeing some blues. And so you're like, why am I seeing blues? Because Viridis was the color ramp, and I didn't set it. But let's say I wanted this to go blue, yellow, red. I could change that to blue, yellow, dark red. And I run that, and it's going to change that. And so there you see. The map view, it automatically updated it, and I'm going to zoom to that, and it's like, do I like blue, yellow, dark red better? Yeah, sure, why not? We'll leave it at that. So cool is blue, red is hotspot. We'll leave it at that for right now. All right, pretty cool. It didn't take very long to get our map there. We're not going to export it. You could export this and turn it into a web page. We're not going to do that quite yet. We're going to add a few more things. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go grab some ethnicity and population data that I pulled down from the Census ACS, American Community Survey. If you want to know how to do that, it's actually kind of easy. If you give me a whole bunch of likes on this, I'll put up a tutorial on how to pull data down from the ACS using R. Or if you're afraid of that, you could just send me a text message and ask me to send you it for the whole United States, and I'll put it in a Dropbox and you can go get it, because nobody should have to suffer through waiting for the Census Bureau's computers to actually download it for you. All right, so I'm going to click on that, and it's a GeoJSON file. And the reason I use a GeoJSON file instead of other forms is because everything's packed in that one format, and you get everything. It's going to take a little while. This is a biggish format because it has really, really very, very, very accurate boundaries on it. I may change that to something that has simplified boundaries so it doesn't take as much. Has 195 features and 25 fields. Yay. All right, it's going to take a little while to load. I should go back and play Gangnam Style. Or just the deathly silence. Okay, as you can see, I paused for a second so you didn't have to listen to too much silence. And the next thing I do here is I just have some names, and that's just going to tell me the names of the variables. So you can see what they are here. Total population, percent male, percent female, sex ratio, MT, it should say F there, percent greater 65 to 75, 75 to 85, and 85 and above, 85 and over. Median age, total population, percent white, percent African American, percent Hispanic, and the total number of houses, things that we're not going to use to map, but at least you have them if you wanted to map them there. So we're going to show you what this file looks like by just hitting the map view. It's going to take a minute, and we're going to bounce out. And yeah, so there we go. So we have this. You can click on one of these, and sure enough, this gives us the features that we we wanted. And percent male with 94%. Is that data? Can that possibly be correct? I'll let the zoom in there. Those of you who've spent the 52 hours getting there from Pennsylvania are going to recognize that that's the airport. Yeah, and so there's a few guards that are stationed there. Go Air Marshals who live at the, but not very many. So, and very, very, very few women. Why would you want to live there anyway? All right, so that's our, so that's given us our lovely ethnography map. I'm going to close that, and if we wanted to change that to the percent Hispanics, we simply change the value in the Z call to percent Hispanic, and we click a run on that and zoom. We pop out and we see slowly okay, I'm going to try that again. Yeah, so I'm going to try it again, see maybe if I can pop out. If not, we're just going to let you know that it's over here. There we go. Let's see if our zoomer is going to work now. All right, so it's not wanting to talk to our local host. Something blocked it, but we'll get there in just a minute. But I want to show you that you can put two of those together. I'm going to actually export this right now just because it's giving me some issues there. And I'm going to save as a web page, and I'm going to call this NYCor, short for NY Corona. And it's going to spin for a minute, and it should be done. And now, when I, hopefully it will open it up. Ah, here we go. Lovely. So we actually get to see it up here in my default browser, and you can see that over here in the area called Corona is really high. I know. It's already been published. Not a big deal. All right, so, oh, we didn't say, but Corona is just not really high. This is where there's lots of Hispanics in a place called Corona. All right, it gets worse. All right, so my humor is not good, but hopefully you'll learn some things here. So we can add them. We simply took the first one, and we added to the second one. We just put a plus in between them, and we can run them, and it'll take a minute here, because we're asking it to do an awful lot more. And did it come up here? No, I'm going to have to zoom, and hopefully we'll see that up here. It's not going to let us do it. We'll publish it. Yes, I want to replace it. And again, it should take a minute. And I refresh it, and they're both there. So in map view, I have to go turn off the to see the percent Hispanic. So there we go. We're going good. If I want to see the percent African, we see that. Oh yeah, you can change the background maps here again, and that's right over in here. If you want to zoom to one of those, you can click here. If they were different sizes, they're the same. Zoom full. These give us some tools over there. So we're going to bounce back over one last time. So we're going to finally add the last one, and remember our map, our lat long da 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 over here. I'm going to put that into something called P. All right, and now I'm going to do the same two additions that I did before, right? And I add the P, so I have the same thing, except I'm adding the P just because when I cut and paste this, it runs over and I'm mouse challenged, so it creates a problem. So when I add that, I run it, doesn't take very long. And there you see all of our lovely points and dots and everything are all over that. I'm going to go ahead and hit my export to HTML to web page again. And I'm going to keep it as my NYC core. And it exists. Do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. And now when I come over and refresh my NYC core, notice try one more time. Oh, there we go. Just being a little slow. All right. So there we go. We have it. We can click on our dots, and that's going to give us our stuff about coronavirus. We can click on our polygons, and that's going to tell us about the post office names and the demographics in there. And so let's go ahead and keep our positives and our percent Hispanic. There's been lots of claims that Hispanics tend to work in service communities and service occupations that lead them to be more highly exposed to coronavirus, and that appears to be true, the worst place being Corona, and that may have a lot of reasons due to number of houses and railway stops and what have you. But you can see it's also, there are areas that are very high in Corona that have very, very few Hispanics. So it's certainly not a one-to-one. You could do some stats on that if you're bored for a master's project. But there we go. So we have done that. We can now play with our street maps, go to neighborhoods, look for densities, see if there's an association with African American, and there other than that a little bit. So again, it's not this one-to-one thing. Certainly, this disease is ravaging poorer communities in a much worse way, and high-density communities in a much worse way than it is richer and low-density communities. I hope you learned something, but so you can get the data from the links there in the R package, and I'll put the R in a comment below. It should be the first one. Thanks for listening.